All right, this is Kevin back again here at Freedom Lovin, and I'm sitting here with Jake DeSillis of The Voluntary Life, and we're in beautiful Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and wanted to talk a little bit, just chat a little bit about Mexico and Jake's experience and kind of what he thinks about a lot of different things. Jake, welcome back to Freedom Lovin.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is absolutely beautiful here, and I've really enjoyed staying here the last few days. It's been really awesome just to hang out and see this place and experience. The weather here is just unbelievable. I live in San Diego, which is supposed to have the best weather in the world, but this is even better, I think, because it's sunny every day. And the view from this place that Jake stays in is it's $1 million view. I mean, it's just unreal. So,
yeah, thanks. I love it. It's lovely being able to write out on that balcony, with the view. It's just a really nice environment to work in.
Yeah, it must be inspirational to be here. I mean, just to be able to see that view every single day of the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, especially if you're doing something like, mainly focusing on writing, which is what I've been doing, and Hannah is working online as well. So we don't need to be in an office or something. We don't need to be in the cold, for example, in England in the winter.
Yeah.
And so it's just a great opportunity to combine traveling and getting to do whatever you're enjoying doing in a nice environment. And also, it's cheaper here, which is a huge advantage as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about the cost here as part of this discussion on Mexico. But I wanted to start with, is Mexico truly the land of the free?
It depends on what you consider to be the important aspects of freedom.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I'm not trying to live here permanently. So I don't have to deal with any bureaucracy.
Right.
I'm not trying to set up a business here. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to get permanent residency or buy a property or anything like that. So I can't speak to how easy or difficult it is to do any of those things.
Yeah.
If you're just living here for 6 months and our visa lasts 6 months, as far as I understand, it's quite easy to renew it and come back in again afterwards anyway.
Yeah.
But if you're just living here without buying property and without doing anything too complicated, if you're just renting, it's super easy.
Yeah.
And in terms of personal freedom and stuff, we don't have any sort of stress or hassle or anything. We rarely see police. If we do, they're just on the highway sort of doing, but we don't drive here either. You see, we just get buses. So, we have no interaction with the state, really.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's awesome living here. But I think it would be different if I wanted to buy property or something like that.
Right.
Then I think it'd be a whole different ballgame.
Oh, yeah. Then you see all the red tape and the communist rules from way back when Mexico was a young country come out, like the 99-year lease law, which means no one ever owns property here because it's all owned by the government.
And as a foreigner, you have to, if it's on the coast, you have to own through a trust as well.
Oh,
you can't.
Wow.
You're not allowed to actually own property on the coast. It's like, I think it's through, 50 miles in or 100 miles in or something.
Yeah.
It all has to go through some kind of trust fund or something like that.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. I feel like it is, like, the funny thing was we were on the bus going up to Sayulita yesterday, and there are some things that are really enjoyable about being in Mexico. Like the bus driver was reading a newspaper as he's driving. It was pretty comical. I wasn't really scared for my life or anything, but there was a couple people drinking a beer on the bus, which back in the States, that's not only is it unheard of, you'd probably get arrested for that. And that's one thing that I really appreciate about Mexico is that there are some freedoms that are here that even on the beach, like we were at the beach today, and it's perfectly legal to drink beer on the beach, and nobody was getting out of hand, and there were no fights or arguments or anything. I mean, it's just, people are really casual. And so it's interesting to see that kind of freedom.
Yeah. It's also, you notice just how it is like laid back here, and I feel extremely safe here. I mean, a lot of people get really scared about Mexico, and there are definitely different parts of Mexico that have different levels of safety. But for example, quite a few times we've been walking down the street and there's been a guy walking along with a machete. And it's obviously like, he's not like out to get anyone. He's obviously just a guy who's been chopping up either coconuts or something like that, right? And, he's just walking to work, basically, with his machete.
Yeah.
And I've never felt like, oh, my God, there's a guy with a machete. Whereas I think if in the UK, if I saw a guy with a machete coming towards me, I'd feel slightly differently.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and even today there was a circus going on in Sayulita, and they were selling a bunch of stuff around the area. And someone had a bunch of guns out. I don't know if you saw that, but there was a bunch of rifles sitting there, and I think they were for sale, and they were just sitting out. Like anyone could just take one and play with it. And I couldn't imagine that in the US. I mean, that would be like, there would be so many bureaucrats trying to regulate that one guy's little booth because he's got the guns out, and it's like, yeah, they're dangerous. So, but I think going back to what you were saying earlier, I think that, another thing that Jeff Berwick talks about, who was on the show a few months back, what he talks about is that you're treated better as a tourist in many countries than as an actual citizen of their country. Definitely. So that's one of the advantages of being a permanent traveler.
Yeah, absolutely. Tourist. Yeah. And that's why I think if this is not just true of Mexico, I think this is true of many places, most places probably, that if you are only living in the country for a short amount of time, then you're basically bringing income into the country, and you're treated as a guest.
Right.
And your experience in general, or at least our experience in general, is great. We love traveling because we meet so many nice people, and people around the world are so friendly. And, if you have a positive attitude, then human beings are great, and meeting them is really good fun. And you can always tell if you're in a slightly dodgy environment, and make adjustments and put yourself out of that environment, go somewhere safer. Yeah. So I love it, and I think that's one of the real benefits of travel is that you do get treated really well by people who are both pleased to kind of get to know you, but also by shops and local businesses who see you as a source of income in a positive way. Yeah, that's right. And I was in Guadalajara before I came here, and I felt super safe there. I think I mentioned this earlier, but I felt so safe there. And walking down the street at 12 midnight on a dark street with just a few people out, I didn't feel like there was any danger really. Maybe it was just being naive, but I heard that the crime rate's really low there too, and it's probably even lower here in Puerto Vallarta near the coast. Oh yeah, even funnily enough, just going to Guadalajara, that already felt like a step different from the coast or from PV and Sayulita for us, but that felt fine too. Yeah, and you just have to be sensible and do a little bit of research and look at the travel forums and work out what other people have said about places and stuff. Yeah, we had a great time in Guadalajara too. Really enjoyed it. Really, and it was kind of nice to go to a big city after being on the coast. Is pretty mellow. It was kind of nice to see a bit more urban Mexico and see a bit more of, we have huge markets there and stuff like that. It was fun. Right. So what is your thoughts on PV, Puerto Vallarta versus like a big city like Guadalajara, like as far as living here? You've been here how long? We've been here 4 months now. Okay. We also lived in Sayulita for 2 months, which is just up the coast. Yeah. And in fact, at the moment, as we did this weekend with you, we went to Sayulita for the weekend, and we've been doing that. Because Sayulita is really a great sort of more surf town, and it's got a younger crowd. Puerto Vallarta has got a lot of older retirees here. Right. It's a nice place for us to work during the week because we have a great apartment here, and it's cheaper, and we get to sort of have this nice view, and then we go and sort of relax in Sayulita at the weekend. I think it sort of depends what you want. If you want to be somebody who's working in cafes and bars and spending your time, and indeed, if you want to go out a lot, right, then I should imagine somewhere like Guadalajara might be more fun because it is a city. There's a lot going on, and there's loads of cafes and bars and shops, and also there's a real entrepreneurial culture there. We met so many people who had their own businesses, who were selling things or setting up like stalls. Or one guy opened a bar, another woman was selling jewelry, another guy was selling like cakes and stuff. Yeah. So there's a lot happening. PV is much more tourist oriented. Right. It's very much like a coastal town, very tourist oriented. And as I say, we treat it more like a place where we basically sort of spend our time mostly getting on with our own thing here. Yeah. And Sayulita is even smaller and is more of a surf town or a surf village even. So I guess it just depends on what you want. It depends how much you want to be socializing and be out and about, and how much you just want to find a nice apartment where you can, have the room to work and do your thing. And that's sort of the lifestyle that we've chosen here. Right. Now, so what would you think as far as like a digital nomad location? Does anything kind of jump out at you in PV or Guadalajara or anything around here? Well, as I say, I think if you want to be a digital nomad that works in cafes and bars, or in internet cafes, and just like if you want that sort of scene, you're probably better off in a bigger place. Yeah. There are, I mean, there's Starbucks here and stuff like that, and there are a few cafes, but there's not that much going on of that kind.
Right.
So it's more like if you want to get a nice apartment and stuff. And there are some things about Puerto Vallarta that we didn't really know before we came here, which have been a bit of a disappointment. Like, we didn't realize that there was during peak season, there's a lot of like elderly retirees who show up. And they kind of dominate the town center a bit.
Yeah, I've noticed.
Yeah, and that's not so much. I mean, that's not really so much fun. Sayulita is much younger, so I think it really depends on what you're looking for. You can find good accommodation in both places, but if you want to be up by the coast and by the sea, then you've got to be here because Guadalajara is a long way in.
Oh yeah, totally. So what about the cost? What do you think about the cost versus? I mean, you came from Brighton, England. And where the cost of standard of living is pretty high, and you came out here. What is your experience?
Well, we found that in general, we spend 40% less coming to Mexico. And that is including the cost of the travel.
Yeah.
So just by coming out here, we spend 60% of our normal budget.
Yeah.
Right? So it's significantly cheaper.
Yeah.
And we're not even really going crazy with trying to do like, when we're not kind of doing hostel level of accommodation. We've got a nice apartment here. We have spare bedroom. We've got, a lot of space and so forth. So you could definitely go cheaper even if you wanted to.
Yeah.
In a town like Puerto Vallarta, it's also the case that you can also just pay loads of money. I mean, there's lots of stuff that's specifically geared towards American and Canadian tourists.
Yeah.
And it's not that cheap. Like, there are chains here like Chili's and stuff, and you pay quite a lot for food in those places compared to if you just want to get taco from a Mexican place.
Yeah.
Especially Sayulita, the food there is so cheap and so good that it actually, when we were living in Sayulita for 2 months, it didn't really make much sense for us to cook at home because we could go out and eat on the equivalent of like $4 each a night, which for a great meal and a drink. And I mean, that's such good value.
It's amazing. Yeah, we had this lunch today, a couple of really big tacos, really tasty, and a drink, and it was like $4 each. I mean, it's insane how cheap it is. What would you think, like in this area, Puerto Vallarta, what would a 1-bedroom apartment, it's like not too far from the water, that you could kind of walk to places, what would that go for?
You can get a place, well, I don't know about 1-bedrooms because we've been looking at 2-bedrooms.
Okay, well,
So, for example, for 2-bedrooms, we were looking at between $750 and $1,000 was the kind of per month was the kind of range that we were looking at. But typically, those places, you get a swimming pool, you get 2 bedrooms, you get like TV and lounge and kitchen and everything, and aircon. I mean, everything that you see in this place. So, you can go cheaper than that.
Yeah.
You can get places for $500, but they're going to be probably without aircon, and probably they're going to be a bit more like basic.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine too. And those places are fine. So, it just depends on what you want, really.
Yeah. But that even, like you said, and then you get, when you get the higher end stuff, it comes with a maid a lot of times, right? Like,
we have a maid here.
Yeah.
Twice a week. So, got a maid. We also got washing machine and dishwasher, not dishwasher, but a washing machine and dryer and basically everything that we need.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's super cool. So what about the language? Like, how has that been? You've learned some Spanish, obviously.
Yeah.
How do you think you absolutely have to learn Spanish here? And how much can you kind of assimilate into the community here? I
think it's a lot more fun if you learn Spanish because basically I just think it makes a big difference in the kind of interactions that you can have.
Yeah.
I mean, it's super easy for people to get by in English, especially on the coast. Because all the businesses, like, people generally kind of speak some English.
Right.
And you can make yourself understood. And there are a lot of holiday makers coming down who don't really speak Spanish, and they get along fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I personally think that it's just a lot more fun if you learn at least the basics, because then you can have conversations with people, and you can chat to people that you meet in the street or whatever. And even if you're just chatting to somebody that you're buying stuff in the market from, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So I really recommend it. And there's lots of places to do intensive language courses. We did one, and we actually did one when we were down in Argentina for a week. And that was a great experience too, because you meet other travelers.
Yeah.
And you get to, like, other people who may be doing similar things to you. So that's fun too.
Yeah. No, that sounds awesome. That's something I definitely need to do. Like ASAP, I have one trip planned to Peru and another one possibly to Dominican Republic. And this has been an eye-opening experience because I've been doing the Duolingo app and trying to learn vocabulary. And it helps for me to understand a little bit of what people are saying. I can definitely read a lot more than I could before, but actually carrying on a conversation is just a whole different planet because I can't hear things. It sounds all jumbled together, and the numbers are really hard for me to hear because it sounds like all the same. But it's been good. I mean, I think just being exposed to it and picking up on little things and kind of remembering what I used to know a little bit is kind of cool.
I think a lot of it is actually just to do with the willingness to make a fool of yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you're learning the language, then you're going to make mistakes.
Right.
And you're going to get some points where you get that moment of, I don't know what to say, I've forgotten. I know this word, but I can't remember it.
Right.
And, as long as you don't let that stress you out, and it's just like, so what? It doesn't matter.
I know.
I mean, and the fact of the matter is, and this is not just in Mexico, but I think everywhere, people really appreciate you trying to speak their language.
Right. Right.
And so it doesn't matter if you completely mess it up.
Yeah.
The fact that you're doing it is really something. I'm amazed by some of the people who come down here and retire here, Canadian snowbirds or Americans, who just walk up to people in markets and start talking English to them. And I kind of think, you're starting that interaction on such a wrong foot because you're not going to have an interesting, genuine conversation with somebody if you start like that.
Yeah. Well, they're probably not angling for that. They're probably just thinking, I just want to get whatever I want.
They just want to get whatever, but then, and they're losing out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't sort of have long chats with everyone we buy stuff from, but it's just a nicer and more genuine interaction if you can connect with people a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When I went to Amsterdam one time, my ex-wife was doing something for her job there, and there's a lot of people from all over the world in Amsterdam. It's like an international city, and not many people speak Dutch. So English is very common. Everywhere I went, people would speak Dutch to me, and I would always be very confused and not know what to say. But what the advice that people were saying is just in that city, just speak English. Like, don't even bother to do anything in Dutch. Just speak English automatically because you'll look like a fool, and they won't care. That just because most people are bilingual there, they just kind of go with. Writing English. And
Holland is kind of amazing because the level of language ability there is just incredible.
Yeah.
I met some Dutch people when I first went to university, and this girl, I was saying, so how many languages do you speak? And she said, just 5.
Yeah, that's right.
And she spoke literally 5 languages fluently.
Right.
And I was just amazed. It's like, wow, I speak 1 and a bit. And that was actually quite an inspiration. I learned German after that because I went and spent a lot of time in Germany. But it was quite an inspiration to think, there are people who do, by the time they leave home, they speak 5 languages fluently. And not because they're kind of some kind of genius or something, but just because if you live in a little country like Holland surrounded by other countries, you just learn loads of languages.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think you're right. In Holland, it's maybe a little different because they are just a language. They're so good at languages.
Yeah. Well, here, I kind of have this pride thing going on internally where I don't want to admit that I don't know what they're saying. So I will try to do Spanish. And then they'll say something back and I won't understand any of it, but I'll sit there and think about it. And there's this long, awkward pause where I'm just sitting there going, what are they saying? And I did that when I first got off the plane when I was trying to exchange my money because I wanted to see if I could understand what she was saying. And I just was staring at her awkwardly. And she finally just went right into English because she spoke perfectly fluent English. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. But okay. So I had some other things that I just some notes that I was curious about. What's your experience been with the Wi-Fi here?
Well, not that great, to be honest. I mean, it's fine, but it sort of goes in and out. So, typically in a day, we'll be working here. I have to say, in Puerto Vallarta, it's better than in some places. Puerto Escondido, which is in the south of Mexico and is even more remote than this, it was terrible. It was a real problem. Here, it's okay. It's just slightly annoying that it kind of goes in and out, and there'll be 2 minutes where somehow the Wi-Fi seems to be still working, but it's not connecting properly. And that tends to happen even if you go to a cafe. Right. Like you and I experienced that the other day. We were in a cafe.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
The Wi-Fi just came in and out a couple of times, and we were sitting on different tables and saying across to each other, "Are you getting Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
How are you?" And that kind of experience happens quite a lot in Mexico, at least in my experience. So I think it's better I noticed that it was much better in Guadalajara. Mm-hmm. And that's not really surprising because it's a big city.
That's right. Yeah. A little more infrastructure there. But now, so what about the country? Like, do you have much insight into how Mexico is doing as a country? Is it getting better economically? Is it getting worse? Or what's the story here? And then also, along those lines, we hear a lot in the news about the drug lords and the crime and all that. Is there anything, do you have any insight there?
Well, as far as the economy is concerned, so I'm no expert on this at all, but what I understand is that what's actually happened in recent years is that because China has become more expensive for American imports, so it's been more expensive to import things from China because of the fuel prices have gone up and Chinese internal costs have gone up because China's really booming. Mm-hmm. That's actually been a real benefit to Mexico because Mexico lost out to China on a lot of cheap manufacturing and stuff.
Yeah.
And as far as I understand, that some of that in recent years has actually come back to Mexico because it's closer, the transport costs are lower, and so the economy here, as far as I understand, is doing pretty well in general.
Yeah.
I mean, you certainly I get that sense when just from being here that this place is like there's stuff happening. I mean, everyone in Mexico works so hard.
Yeah.
It is such a, like, people here hustle.
Yeah.
They work like mad. Everyone's going somewhere, doing something, getting on with stuff. It's a really, really hard-working place.
Yeah.
You see that. I mean, the drug thing, I know that in America, there's so much in the media about that.
Yeah.
It's such a huge deal. And the way that we see Mexico is this huge place because, I mean, England is a tiny little country and Mexico is the size of Western Europe, which for us is a big place.
Right.
And, it's like there being a problem in Italy and you're sitting in, I don't know, in Holland saying, like, am I safe?
Yeah,
because,
that's right.
Because there's the mafia in Italy.
Right,
they're on the other side of the country.
Yeah,
And that's the case in Mexico too. There are dangerous places. There are certainly places in Mexico that I wouldn't feel comfortable going. I'm not going anywhere into the Sierra Madre and I'm not going anywhere north near the border with the US because those are the bits that are really... They're dangerous.
Yeah, as I'm flying into Tijuana tomorrow.
Well, we're actually going to fly into there too.
Right,
But we're just. What I mean is, I'm not going to be like traveling around doing sightseeing.
Yeah.
But I think, I mean, you just got to be sensible and have a look at what the facts are. And again, travel forums are pretty good on that. Other people have experiences and stuff.
Sure.
And the fact is, places like this are super safe.
Yeah.
And it's funny because there's a lot of Canadian people come and live here because they don't get so much of the media kind of frenzy about the drug war.
Yeah.
So they know it's kind of safe, so they come down. But I guess less so people from the US because there's a lot more media hype about how dangerous Mexico is.
Yeah, there definitely is, and it does get. I mean, there are periods of time where it does get more dangerous than others, but like you said, it's more regional. It's not like the whole country is blowing up with gang warfare or something like that. I mean, it's always just local. I mean, it's kind of like Thailand is the same way. And once in a while there's some eruption in Bangkok, but you could be sitting on a beach down in like Koh Phi Phi or something and not be affected at all.
Yeah.
And it's just like everywhere else. But I
mean, there's a lot of parts of the US that are really dangerous. Yeah. I wouldn't want to go to.
Yeah.
It's just the same principle. If you're going to a city in the US, you kind of find out where the dangerous bits are and where the safe bits are, and you can have a great time.
Sure.
It's the same coming to Mexico. It's the same coming to any particular Mexican town and coming to Mexico as a country as a whole.
Yeah.
You just find out where the dangerous bits are and where the safe bits are, and you're never going to get... And also, obviously, the other thing to say is, like, we have no interest in buying drugs or being involved in that trade. I think if you were to get involved in that business, then you could potentially get yourself into dangerous situations. But if you're not involved in the trade, then you're not going to come near any of that stuff anyway.
Yeah, maybe a stray bullet or two, but that's about it. You've been traveling with your partner, Hannah, for a while now, and I'm curious, like, how that's been just in terms of, like, you guys kind of finding places, traveling together, like picking the next spot, and being sort of permanent travelers at this point. Like, what's your take on that? How has it worked as a couple?
Oh, we love it. I mean, I wouldn't say that we're really permanent travelers yet because we still go back to the UK, but we've been traveling. We haven't seen winter since 2012.
Yeah, so, that's awesome.
We've kind of been on a permanent summer since then. And so we've been spending, like, mainly coming back to England during the summers and then traveling. And yeah, we love it. It's great. We've had mostly great experiences. The one bad experience we had was actually here in PV, where we booked a place. We previously have used Airbnb, and that's been great. It's been really good. We've had only good experiences with finding great places to live. But since we were in Mexico last winter, we thought we'd book in advance and get something locked down. So we found this amazing place. like really beautiful place. And it's one of the reasons why we chose to come to PV was because we found this incredible, and we put a deposit down and everything. This was with a local agent. And on the way, flying into Mexico, the agent said, oh yeah, well that place isn't available anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of a bait and switch thing that we've since found out a lot of other people have had that experience. And that, I mean, the place that we've got now, you've seen it, the view's great and everything. It's not what we thought we were getting.
Yeah.
You know, we have a great life here. So
yeah,
it's one of the things that can happen. And that was an unfortunate thing. And for example, we won't be booking a place for 6 months, taking out a contract at that length and paying up front again, because that was not a good experience.
Yeah.
So, you know, sometimes things don't work out as you expect, and then you just have to work out what you're going to do and what the best way forward is. And so we've had that experience. And apart from that, you know, we had one experience of getting mugged when we were in Uruguay, where Hannah's bag got snatched. And that was a horrible and nasty experience. And there was a real hassle afterwards as well. But apart from that, we've only had great experiences. It's been wonderful. And we love traveling. We love staying in different places and staying for like a good chunk of time too.
Yeah.
At least, I think for us, we at least stay a month and ideally like 2 to 6 months in a place to kind of experience what it's like to live somewhere, because there is a certain amount of disruption from moving around as well. And so it's nice to kind of get settled somewhere and have a life there and then try something else afterwards.
Yeah, that's awesome. So now what's kind of your long-term plan? Is you're going back to England for 6 months, and then are you going to kind of stick with this 6 months on, 6 months off kind of thing for a while, or you don't know yet?
We don't know. That's a really good question, and I'm not sure. I mean, something that we're really considering is, you know, do we just travel permanently?
Yeah.
We've met a lot of people who do that.
Yeah.
And all different walks of life and different outlooks on life who've chosen that route. And there's definitely some, you know, it's a really exciting life to do, I think. And it has downsides too, right?
Totally.
So I guess at the moment, you know, we're really enjoying what we're doing, but we're considering that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. We'll have a chat in a year or so, and I'll give you an update.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I know so many other couples that travel, you know, permanently and that kind of thing. So I think it's definitely doable. I think the question that always comes into my mind is like, how do you ever feel settled? Like, how is that, you know, that feeling of like, okay, I have this sort of settled life. And I think you have that sort of back in Brighton right now. But if you just said, okay, we're traveling permanently, how would that even happen?
Well, I think, and there are downsides to it for sure, especially if you want to stay in touch with friends and loved ones and stuff. It's difficult if you're moving around. I think one of the things that is really shown us is how important it is to be minimalist and get rid of a lot of your crap so that you don't have loads of stuff to cart around with you. And it's also shown me that I think in terms of being settled, I get settled by, my relationship with Hannah is part of it. We travel together, so you know, we have each other. I think it would be harder if I was doing it on my own.
Right.
But the other thing is I get settled by being settled within myself. And what that means to me is knowing what I'm doing and having stuff that I'm working on that I really feel passionately about, because then I can be anywhere in the world. If I'm working on a book that I feel passionate about, you know, I can be anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's what's important to me. That's sort of it. And I feel settled in the sense that I have my sort of systems for working out what my projects are and what my priorities are. And I have my laptop, and in a way, I'm settled by having a digital life.
Yeah,
you know,
that's true.
All of the information that I need to run my life is digital.
Yeah.
Most of it's in the cloud. Mm-hmm. And consequently, I can land anywhere. And as long as I feel physically comfortable wherever we are, then I just get online and I've got all of I've got my task manager. I know what my projects are. I've got all my sort of information in Evernote with all the sort of stuff that I need. I've got everything that I need is digital. So increasingly, home is in the cloud.
Yeah, that's true. And it's funny because like how we met was online, and you know, we actually didn't even meet until like 3-4 days ago or whatever. Yeah. So we just knew each other from, you know, our podcast and emails and stuff like that. So it's funny how like, and that happens in like next week or about a week and a half, I'm going to be traveling with a guy that I met in Thailand, and we just met and hung out a couple times, and now we're going to go on this trip together. So it's like, and he's traveling all over the world. So it's kind of like, your community now is so different than like the people who live on your block. I mean, you can't just have like, it's so much better as you have deeper relationships when you can kind of open up to the world and meet people that are doing really interesting things, which is what I always try to do, you know, rather than just like, oh, well, I can just make friends with, you know, the people that live within, you know, 20 minutes of me or something like that.
Yeah, totally. So, and you get the chance to find people, as you say, who really share your values and who are really aligned with things that are important to you.
Yeah.
I do still think that there are disadvantages too. I mean, it's nice to know that you can be in a town with a whole bunch of people that you can go out and meet up in a restaurant for dinner with and stuff. I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a sense of community that I think is a lot easier to do that, especially, for example, if we have kids, then it would be easier if there were like loads of people around who we had like a community of support around it than if we're traveling. But these are some of the things that we're kind of pondering as we think about whether to go fully permanent travel or not.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome. Yeah, I'll look forward to getting the report in like next year sometime.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anything else? Any parting words on Mexico?
I really enjoy it here. I mean, we love it here. I love Mexican food.
Do you ever get sick of tacos?
No, I love tacos.
I don't. I mean, I was in Thailand in October, and I was there for almost 4 weeks. I really got sick of Thai food, but I love Thai food. But I got sick of it. I got sick of the rice and stuff like that. But I swear I could eat tacos every day for 3 meals a day, and they're awesome.
You know, like this evening, I just cooked 3 red snappers in the oven.
Yeah,
fresh, beautiful fish. I mean, there's great food here.
Yeah,
absolutely. I love that. The only thing that I get a little bit sick of is Mexico is a loud country.
Yeah.
Right? There is music everywhere.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of mariachi music is very trumpety oriented, very sort of trumpet oriented. I get a little bit sick of the sound of trumpets sometimes.
Yeah. The one that gets me is the accordion. I can't say. So if you mix the trumpets and the accordion, it's just a cacophony of misery.
Yeah. So, but you know what? That does not bother me. It's such a great place to live. We have a great time here, and I certainly think it's a lovely place to come and visit and try out for yourself. If you like, I really love the sea and I love the beach. Mexico's got beautiful beaches. So if you're interested in beautiful sunny place with great food, really nice people, relaxed atmosphere, Mexico's a good place to try.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I've enjoyed my time here, and it's been awesome. So thanks for coming on and chatting here for a little bit, and appreciate all the words of wisdom about Mexico, and thanks for letting me stay at your place. It's been really cool to have a place to crash here.
It's been great fun having you visit.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks
awesome.
very much.
Thanks, Jake. Yeah, have a good one.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Freedom Lovin podcast. To break free today, head on over to freedomlovin.com and download our free guide. 7 practical tips to living free in an unfree world.